think about this. Globally, English isn't just a language for customer service. It's pretty much the operating system, right?
It really is.
But, truly effective communication, especially when customers are reaching out with complaints or questions, well, it goes way beyond simply stringing words together.
Oh, absolutely. It's about nuance, understanding, getting to positive outcomes.
Exactly. Because when a customer has an issue, that interaction is like a critical touch point.
Definitely. Their whole perception of your brand, their loyalty, honestly, it can all hinge on how that moment is handled.
So mastering English for these kinds of crucial conversations isn't just helpful, it's fundamental, a pillar of customer success.
Couldn't agree more.
And that's precisely what we're diving into today. We've pulled together a range of material that really unpacks the core skills and actionable strategies for mastering English, specifically for resolving complaints and answering queries.
Yeah, we're looking at everything from the sort of foundational principles.
Right, to the specific language for different situations, different channels.
And even how to keep getting better at it. Continuous improvement.
Yeah. So our mission here is to equip you with insights you can use straight away to, elevate your customer service interactions in English. We're focusing on clarity, real empathy, and driving those positive results.
Sounds good. Where should we start?
Okay, let's get started with the foundational principles. The material highlights 5 core ideas that really underpin effective customer service communication in English. First one up, empathy.
Empathy. It's fascinating, isn't it? Its power to immediately build rapport.
It really is.
It's about understanding, acknowledging the customer's feelings, making them feel genuinely heard, validated right from the start, especially when they're frustrated.
It turns a transaction into something more human, doesn't it?
Exactly. A human connection. It builds trust, even when things are tense.
So practically, what does that sound like? The source gives some good examples like, I understand how frustrating that must be.
Or I can see why you're upset about this, things like that.
It's about mirroring their emotional state, yeah.
Precisely. It signals you're not just processing their words, but you're actually recognizing their emotional experience.
And the source also mentions what not to do.
Oh, yeah. Definitely avoid anything that minimizes how they feel. Or worse, sort of implies it's somehow their fault.
That's a really key distinction. Okay, principle number 2 is clarity. Seems straightforward, but boy, misunderstandings can really derail things, can't they?
They really can. Clarity is just making sure your message is immediately understandable.
Yeah.
Zero ambiguity.
No room for error.
Right. And if you think big picture, clear communication isn't just polite. It directly helps efficiency. It stops frustration building up further.
And again, we've got some helpful language cues, things like signposting.
Yeah, like first, you'll need to. Then the next step is guiding them through it.
And checking for understanding. Phrases like, does that make sense?
Or, just to recap, the plan is super important.
And the big one here is avoiding jargon, right?
Absolutely critical. No jargon, no assumptions about what the customer already knows. Keep your language direct, simple, uncomplicated.
All right, principle number 3, positivity. Now, this isn't about being fake cheerful when someone's obviously having a terrible time.
No, not at all. Not about being Pollyanna. Positivity here means focusing on solutions, on possibilities.
Okay.
Even when you're acknowledging a negative situation, your language should always point towards fixing it. That gives the customer confidence that you can actually help them.
The source has a good contrast here, leading with, what I can do for you is, instead of just listing limitations.
Exactly. And using words like certainly or gladly, they seem small, but they can make a surprising difference to the overall tone.
They really can.
And again, it's consciously avoiding too much negative phrasing and definitely steering clear of any blame language. Always focus on moving forward, constructively.
Makes sense. Okay, principle 4 is professionalism. This feels like it covers more than just words. It's the whole manner.
It is. Professionalism is about maintaining respect and composure.
Yeah.
All the way through. It reinforces your brand's credibility, makes the exchange more positive, even if it's a difficult situation.
So things like, thank you for your patience, or I appreciate you bringing this to my attention, they really show that, don't they? Consistent courtesy.
Precisely. It also means, avoiding slang, using proper grammar.
Definitely.
And keeping your own emotions in check. Your language should always reflect respect and sort of appropriate decorum.
Got it. And finally, number 5, active listening. This is more than just hearing the words.
Oh, much more. Active listening means fully engaging with what the customer is saying, both the explicit message and, any underlying emotion.
Making sure you really get the core issue.
Yes, and making the customer feel genuinely valued. Which raises the question, how do we actually show this active listening through our language?
Well, the source gives examples like, so if I'm understanding correctly, the main issue is that right? That kind of paraphrasing and confirming.
Exactly. Paraphrasing is key. And using those little verbal cues, like, okay, just to show you're tracking along with them.
Right.
And crucially, knowing when to just be quiet. Let them finish. Avoid interrupting or jumping to conclusions before they've actually finished explaining.
Okay, those are the foundational principles. Really solid stuff. Building on that, let's move on to actually handling customer queries. The material lays out a typical structure for these interactions.
Yeah, what's useful here is seeing that logical flow. You greet them, you actively listen to get the query, you clarify anything unclear.
Then provide the info, check they've got it, and close politely.
Exactly. Having that structure doesn't just solve the immediate question, it builds their confidence in your whole support system.
And for each stage, the source gives specific examples tailored for phone, email, chat. Let's start with greetings.
Okay. On the phone, something professional but welcoming like, good morning, afternoon, evening. Thank you for calling company name. My name is your name. How may I help you today?
That sets a good tone right away.
Simple, effective, and email. Email, usually a straightforward, dear customer name, thank you for contacting company name, does the job.
And chat. That's a bit different.
Yeah, chat's often a bit more immediate, but still needs to be professional. Something like, hello, customer name. Thanks for reaching out to company name support. My name is your name. How can I assist you? Works well.
Okay, that covers the opening. What about when we need to dig a bit deeper to understand what they're actually asking?
Right, that's where clarifying questions are essential. You might use open-ended questions to get more detail, like, could you tell me a little more about what you're looking for?
Get them talking.
Exactly. Or close questions for specific bits of info, like, could you please provide me with your order number?
Just the facts.
Right. And then sometimes you need probing questions, just to be sure you've got the full picture. To ensure I give you the right information, could you clarify?
Okay, making sure you have all the pieces before you try to answer. Then comes providing the actual information. What are some key phrases there?
Well, if you need a moment to find something, phrases like, let me check that for you right away. Or, one moment please while I access your account details. They help manage expectations.
Let them know what's happening.
Precisely. And when you deliver the info, aim for directness, clarity, and, importantly, if you don't have the answer right there, be honest.
Oh, that's a good point. What would you say then?
Something like, that's a great question. While I don't have that exact detail right here, I can certainly find out for you. Honesty builds trust, even if there's a slight delay.
Yeah, being upfront is much better than guessing or bluffing. And after giving the info, crucial to check they understood.
Absolutely vital. Checking understanding with questions like, does that answer your question fully? Or maybe, is there anything else I can clarify for you regarding this? It cuts down on follow-ups and leaves them feeling satisfied.
Makes sense. And finally, closing the interaction. How do we wrap things up well?
On the phone, a simple, polite, thank you for calling company name. Have a great evening. Leaves a good final impression.
And email.
Email, something standard and professional like, thank you again for contacting us. If you have any further questions, please don't hesitate to reach out. Sincerely, works perfectly.
And chat.
Chat, maybe something like, thanks for chatting with us today. If anything else comes up, feel free to reach out again. Have a good day. Still polite, but fits the chat medium.
So, a clear structure, courtesy, plain language, that seems to be the key for queries.
Yeah.
Now, what about when it's not just a query, but a complaint? That's a whole different ballgame.
It really is. This is where the emotional side kicks in much more strongly.
Right.
And the source really emphasizes this. Your first job is to acknowledge and sort of manage the customer's emotions before you even start tackling the actual problem.
Deal with the feeling first, then the facts.
Pretty much. Address their feelings. Validate them. That creates the space you need for a more productive conversation later. Someone who feels ignored or dismissed isn't going to listen to your solutions anyway.
No, definitely not. The material introduces this model, LEAPS. Can you walk us through that?
Sure. LEAPS. It's a really useful framework for handling complaints systematically. It stands for listen, empathize, apologize, propose provide solution, and summarize secure closure.
Okay, LEAPS. Let's break it down. First, listen. What does that mean in a complaint situation? More than just not talking.
Oh, yeah. It means giving them your full, undivided attention. Let them tell their story, their whole issue, without jumping in unless it gets out of hand, obviously.
Right.
And use those verbal nods, those cues, to show you're engaged. Phrases like, please tell me exactly what happened, can really encourage them to share the full picture.
Okay. Then empathize. We touched on this, but how is it specific to complaints?
Well, here it's about really demonstrating genuine understanding and validating how they feel about the problem. Saying things like, I can hear how frustrating the situation is for you, or I understand why you feel that way.
Acknowledging their perspective on this specific issue?
Exactly. And the source rightly warns against saying things like, calm down.
Oh, yeah. Worst thing you can say.
Often is. It usually just makes things worse. Escalates it.
Definitely one to avoid. Okay. Next is apologize. What makes for a good apology here?
Sincerity and directness are key. Phrases like, I am very sorry for the trouble this has caused you, or maybe, please accept my sincere apologies for the error. It shows you acknowledge their negative experience.
And avoid those apologies, right?
Absolutely. Nothing weak or defensive, nothing that tries to shift blame, just a clear, sincere apology.
Okay, so we've listened, emphasized, apologized. Now we hit provide a solution. How do we tackle this stage?
Right. This is where you start taking ownership of fixing things. You can use phrases like, I will personally take responsibility for looking into this for you. That shows commitment.
Taking ownership, I like that.
Yeah. Or if you need to investigate further, maybe something like, let me investigate this with the relevant team helps manage their expectations about timing. And when you actually offer solutions, be really clear about what you can do. Be realistic. Be honest. Don't overpromise.
That makes perfect sense, managing expectations about what's actually feasible. And the final step, summarize, secure closure. How do we wrap up a complaint constructively?
You want to basically confirm what you've agreed on and outline any next steps clearly, including timelines if possible. So just to confirm, we have agreed that mention the agreed action or solution, make sure they feel heard, and that the issue is genuinely being addressed or has been resolved as much as possible.
This LEAPS model seems incredibly helpful for navigating those, let's face it, sometimes really tricky complaint calls.
It provides a solid structure, yeah.
The source also mentions language for de-escalation. What are the key things if a customer is really, really upset?
Okay, first and foremost, stay calm yourself. Your composure is critical.
Easier said than done sometimes.
True, but essential. Then use I statements. I understand that. I can see why you'd feel focusing on your perception. Acknowledge their anger directly but calmly. I can hear that you're very angry about this.
Just name it.
Yeah. And if necessary, if their language becomes abusive, you might need to calmly set professional boundaries. But throughout, keep reiterating that you want to find a resolution.
That's a really vital advice. Okay, let's shift gears a bit. How does the actual communication channel change the language we need to use?
That's interesting. The core principles, empathy, clarity, etc., they still apply, but you definitely need to tailor how you express them based on the channel.
So the phone, for instance.
Right. On the phone, your tone of voice, how clearly you pronounce words, your speaking pace, they're all hugely important because there are no visual cues.
Everything rests on the sound.
Exactly. Those active listening cues we talked about, the okays, the become even more critical. And you need specific phrases for managing holds or transfers, like just bear with me one moment while I look that up, or asking permission before putting them on hold, and ensuring a warm handover if you transfer them so they don't have to repeat everything.
Right, those little things make a big difference on a call. What about email?
Email usually needs a bit more formality. Structure is key, clear subject lines, logical paragraphs, maybe using bullet points or lists to make information easier to digest.
Readability.
Definitely. And proofreading is non-negotiable. Typos look unprofessional. Plus, sticking to standard professional greetings and closings.
And then live chat. It feels like a mix of phone and email.
It kind of is. Speed and conciseness are valued in chat, but you can't sacrifice clarity just to be quick.
Tricky balance.
It is. You need to manage expectations clearly. If you need time to check something, please give me a moment to check this for you. And about canned responses.
Ah, yes, the pre-written replies.
They can save time, sure, but use them carefully. Always personalize them at least a little bit so it doesn't sound robotic or irrelevant.
Good point. Finally, social media. That adds the whole public dimension.
Huge factor. Responses on platforms like Twitter or Facebook are often public, so professionalism and sticking to your brand's voice are absolutely crucial.
Everyone can see it.
Exactly. You need to be concise, responsive. And if the issue needs personal details or is sensitive, your main aim should be to quickly move the conversation to a private channel. DM, private message, whatever.
Like, to protect your privacy, could you please DM us with your details?
Precisely that kind of thing. Get it out of the public view quickly and respectfully.
So, really thinking about the channel and adapting your language is crucial. Now, the material also bundles together a key language skills toolkit. What
Wow.
sort of essential skills are in there?
Yeah, this toolkit is great. It offers specific language techniques to really boost your effectiveness. Politeness is a big one.
More than just please and thank you.
Oh, yeah. It includes using modal verbs, smartly could, would like, could you please provide, instead of give me. Using indirect questions sometimes. I was wondering if you could tell me.
Softens it a bit.
Exactly. And hedging language words like unfortunately or slightly to soften bad news. Unfortunately, that option isn't available right now. And yes, of course, plenty of please and thank you.
Those little politeness markers really shape how a message lands, don't they? What else is in the toolkit?
Effective questioning is vital. Knowing when to use open questions. What specific issues are you experiencing to get broad info?
Right.
Closed questions is the power light on for specific yes-no facts. Probing questions, could you elaborate on that point to dig deeper? And checking questions. So the problem occurs only when you do X correct to confirm understanding.
Using the right tool for the job, question-wise.
Exactly. Asking the right question at the right time really moves things forward efficiently.
Makes sense.
Then there are those active listening markers again, but going beyond just okay. Things like paraphrasing what they said in your own words.
So, if I understand correctly, you're saying that?
Precisely. Summarizing key points to make sure you're both on the same page. And even reflecting their feelings back to them. It sounds like you're feeling quite frustrated by this. Shows real empathy.
We talked about positivity before, and the toolkit highlights positive phrasing as a skill too.
Yes, it's about consciously framing things around what can be done and actively replacing negative words. Instead of focusing on the problem, maybe talk about the issue or the situation.
Subtle shift.
It is, but powerful. Instead of, unfortunately, we can't do that, maybe what I can offer is X or Y,
Well,
always directing towards a potential resolution.
and I guess just building your vocabulary is part of this too.
Oh, absolutely. Knowing the right general customer service terms, but also the specific vocabulary for your industry or product, that allows for clear, confident communication.
And for phone work, pronunciation.
Crucial. Clear pronunciation and using appropriate intonation, the rise and fall of your voice, are essential so people can actually understand you easily.
This toolkit sounds like a really practical set of skills you could actively work on. Now, thinking about our globalized world, cultural considerations must be a big factor.
Huge. Absolutely huge. Recognizing that communication styles vary dramatically across cultures is so important for avoiding misunderstandings. You need to be effective with a diverse customer base.
What kind of variations are we talking about?
Well, things like directness versus indirectness. Some cultures are very direct. Others rely more on implication. Levels of formality can differ a lot. And the whole idea of high context versus low context cultures.
High context meaning a lot is unsaid, just understood.
Exactly. Low context means communication is very explicit, very direct. Understanding these differences helps you interpret messages correctly and tailor your own communication.
So being aware of these nuances is step one. Any practical tips for navigating them?
Patience is key, especially with different accents or speeds of speaking. And definitely avoid slang or idioms. They often just don't translate well or can cause confusion.
Good point. Stick to clearer language.
Yeah. And if you don't understand something, just politely ask for clarification. I'm sorry, I didn't quite catch that. Could you possibly repeat it? It's much better than guessing.
And remembering that underlying need for empathy is universal.
Absolutely. How empathy is shown might differ, but that basic human need to feel understood, that's constant across cultures.
That's a really important perspective to hold on to. Finally, the material really stresses that mastering service English isn't like finishing a course. It's an ongoing thing.
That's exactly right. It requires a real commitment to continuous improvement. It's never done.
So what does that look like in practice?
It means things like actively using company training resources, doing role-playing exercises to practice tricky scenarios,
Yeah, practice helps.
reviewing your own past calls or emails to see where you could improve, asking for feedback from supervisors, maybe even from customers if appropriate,
Hmm.
actively seeking out new communication techniques, and just regularly, honestly assessing your own skills. Where am I strong? Where do I need to work?
So it's definitely a journey, not a destination. The source even quotes, "Commitment to continuous improvement ensures your language skills remain sharp and effective in meeting the evolving demands of customer service."
Perfectly put. Customer service changes, customer expectations change.
Yeah.
So your language skills have to keep evolving too.
Well, this has been a really, really insightful deep dive. It hammers home that language is so much more than just the words we pick. It's like the fundamental fabric of the customer experience.
It truly is. Mastering English for customer service isn't just about vocabulary lists. It's about thoughtfully applying those core principles: empathy, clarity, positivity, professionalism, active listening with real intention.
Using the right skills precisely with understanding.
Exactly. Navigating each interaction to achieve clear, positive outcomes for everyone.
So, as you, our listener, go about your day, maybe think about this. What's one small linguistic shift you could consciously make in your next customer interaction?
Yeah, just one small thing.
Maybe choosing a slightly more empathetic opening phrase, or making a point to proactively check for understanding. Think about how deliberately using these language strategies we've discussed could potentially transform that next interaction, build stronger relationships, and ultimately foster greater customer loyalty down the line. What impact could that one small change have?